Is The Settlers 4 a cozy village simulator masquerading as a real-time strategy contest, or a devious logistics spreadsheet that lures you in with cartoon piggies before sucker punching you with supply chain calculus? Answer: emphatically both. Underrated. Definitely outside the German-speaking world, it's remembered chiefly by people who can still recite lumber to sawmill ratios in their sleep. Overrated. Only if you believe every RTS needs a nuclear launch code to matter. Fundamental? Strip it from history, and half the city builders you love lose the branch where beer literally recruits soldiers. Disposable? Tell that to the blue-tinted Viking miner who's waited 24 real-world years for you to connect his gold vein to a smelter. Like that roommate who insists on brewing IPA in the dorm bathroom, endearingly weird, occasionally explosive, and impossible to forget. Settlers of Fu still occupies permanent mental real estate in my retro neighborhood. Historical context. Blue Byte's Settlers lineage started in 1993, carving out a sweet spot between SimCity's zoning zen and Command & Conquer's caffeine twitch. By the late 90s, the RTS landscape was a mosh pit. StarCraft 1998 birthed Korean esports. Age of Empires 2 1999 made medieval nerds of us all, and economic sims such as Anno 1602 gently colonized Teutonic CD-ROM trays. The Settlers 3 1998 had modernized the series with free-walking carriers, roads were out, speed was in, and in the process, angered some flagpole purists. So when The Settlers the 4 landed on 15th in February 2001, weeks before Ubisoft finalized its Blue Byte acquisition, expectations were messy. Restore charm, keep tempo, add something shiny. My personal timeline then? Weekdays after class meant Neo Geo arcade cabinets. Nights meant a dial-up tug of war between Napster queues and Counter-Strike patches. A cover disc demo of Settlers 4 arrived via a German import magazine. Within minutes, I was hypnotized by tiny Romans hefting planks, while a tooltip solemnly advised, beer is required to recruit soldiers. Cue rhetorical question: did teenage me abandon Diablo 2 cow runs for barley farming? Self-answer: Selbstverständlich. Graphically, Settlers 4 showcased Blue Byte's new 32-bit 2D engine, alpha-blended shadows, translucent water that rippled under a fisherman's skiff, and zoom levels that let you snoop on individual berry bushes. Not full 3D like Warcraft 3, but boy did it sing on late Pentium 3 rigs. Ubisoft's marketing ran with that angle. Build an empire at work on Granddad's office PC, then take it home for the 100-hour campaign. A low-resolution fallback even let Windows 95 dinosaurs join the party. Mechanics boot a skirmish, and our absurd through-line barrels literally into view. Alcohol, Romans brew beer, Vikings ferment mead, Mayans process cocoa into stimulants. In Settlers the 4, your barracks flat-out refuses to hand a wannabe soldier a spear until he's downed some frothy liquid courage. Promotions, however, require gold coins minted from coal and ore. Booze merely opens the door to enlistment. Good luck rushing an opponent if your farms haven't sprouted barley yet. 3 playable civilizations greet you at launch: Romans, Vikings, Mayans, each with unique buildings and mana-powered environment spells. Romans terraform, Vikings hurl lightning, Mayans turbocharge crops with sun totems. Looming over the map, but never under your control, is the Dark Tribe, purple-suited settlers led by Morbus, a banished demigod literally allergic to greenery. Wherever their miners tread, the earth turns ashen, crops wither, and animal herds vanish. A Saturday morning cartoon version of Industrial Blight. Campaign mode strings these mechanics into 4 arcs, culminating in a villain chapter where you pilot Morbus himself, eradicating forests to regain god-tier mojo. Cutscenes lean on claymation slapstick. Vikings catapult fish at Roman fortifications. Mayan shamans debate weather patterns like caffeinated podcasters. Morbus sneezes every time a pine cone lands near his throne. But the heart of Settlers 4 is its supply web. Wheat farms deliver sheaves to mills. Mills grind flour for bakeries. Bakeries feed miners. Miners haul coal and gold. Smelters mint coins. Coins polish up raw recruits who've already chugged their beer. Need iron swords? Fire up foresters, woodcutters, sawmills, iron mines, smelters, weaponsmiths, armories, and finally the training site. 13 steps if you count wells and farms. Remove one link, and the whole ballet face plants harder than a Viking after a mead bender. Unlike the first two Settlers installments, where players planted flagpoles to divide roads into relay segments, Settlers 4 sticks with their 3's free walk carrier system. Settlers choose their own shortest path, trampling invisible dirt lanes that visually upgrade from dusty footpaths to tidy stone roads as traffic intensifies. You can't micromanage intersections, but you can widen choke points with automatic paving and ease bottlenecks by breeding donkeys, pack animals that slot themselves onto high-volume routes like medieval UPS trucks. Watching those barrels shuffle along self-made trails is equal parts hypnotic and panic-inducing. One missed grain delivery can starve your brewery. One brewery hiccup can leave the barracks dry. One dry barracks means the dark tribe knocks in your wooden door before you can say, Prost. A single pine tree auto-planted by the game's eco-AI once blocked my busiest intersection. Shortages rippled outward until my spear line faced Vikings armed with iron axes and hangovers. Not ideal. Did I rage quit? Obviously not. I bulldozed the tree, cursed the RNG gods, and quadrupled barley output like a man possessed. Zoom all the way in and the micro detail still astonishes. Viking geologists taste rocks before labeling them gold. Roman tavern queues shuffle forward with impatient foot taps when beer stocks dip. Mayan farmers loft maracas to scare crows. Click enough times and units spout pop culture quips. A stonecutter channels Indiana Jones. It belongs in a temple, but I'm keeping it. While the brewer, clearly sampling his wares, occasionally barks, "Et tu, barley?" That line isn't in the official manual. My Pythonic comedy origins betray me, but the spirit fits. When combat finally erupts, dozens of brightly armored sprites trade blows, while environmental spells sizzle overhead. Romans might flatten a plateau to march their cohort. Vikings call down storm clouds that zap enemy wells. Mayans turbo grow wheat fields faster than you can say vanilla latte. Darkland corruption creeps across the minimap like purple ink, sterilizing fields and forcing frantic counter-terraforming. It's less about micro-ed skirmishes and more about macro supply nerves. Whose beer lines, or loops, and mana crystals will hold longest? Multiplayer ups the tension. The fog of war hides rival traffic patterns, so players spy with outposts or gamble blind. Nothing feels better or worse than realizing your neighbor stockpiled twice your beer when spearmen start knocking. I once watched a Roman opponent rush my base with tier 0 drunks while their gold-powered elites queued quietly behind them. By the time I recognized the feint, purple Darkland crept under my barley fields and the game politely popped up the defeat screen. Lesson: never trust an enemy who builds 2 breweries before a barracks. In 2002, Blue Byte doubled down with Trojans and the Elixir of Power, a full add-on that added a 4th playable race, puzzle missions, and new Dark Tribe plague weapons. Trojans recycle enemy iron instead of mining it, meaning every battlefield becomes a thrift shop. Watching scavenger settlers strip swords from fallen foes and repurpose them into fresh blades is absurdly satisfying. A proto-green economy metaphor wearing a bronze helmet. Legacy, and influence. So why isn't Settlers 4 front row in English language RTS retrospectives? Timing and vibe. 2001 belonged to Polygon Chic, Civilization 3, Empire Earth, and Console Tactics, Advance Wars. Reviewers praised Settlers 4's hand-drawn charm, but knocked its slow pace. Missing that snail tempo crisis management was the entire joke. And with Blue Byte's humor steeped in German puns, localization never hit Blizzard-level bombast, yet its fingerprints linger. Firefly's stronghold fused food variety with army morale straight from the settler's keg. Hemamont's Tropico shows visible supply chains and citizen slapstick that feel distinctly Blue Byte. Modern colony sims like RimWorld thrive on zoom-in voyeurism first pioneered by settlers' ants. Even Ubisoft's own Anno 1800 features beer festivals that echo Settlers IF's tavern hustle. Family DNA never lies. Within the franchise, 4 marks the last fully 2D outing before 2004's polygonal Heritage of Kings ditched automatic paths for direct haulage, shedding much of the charm. Ask 5 fans which entry embodies true settlers, and you'll hear 5 answers, but the beer-loving middle path? That's 4, the Goldilocks fusion of whimsy, tension, and micro-macro slapstick. Ubisoft's 2023 History Edition patched in widescreen support and Windows 11 compatibility, tacitly admitting the keg still has foam left. Most lasting perhaps is Settlers 4's sly lesson about invisible systems. You can't out-click a failing bakery. You must solve upstream grain flow. In an age when global supply chains turn real-world headlines, revisiting a 2001 game to untangle logjams feels eerily relevant. When semiconductor shortages,